Engage Vernon.
I'm your new wingman.
We will win! Because we have...
Welcome to CommLink.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the CommLink Podcast. I'm Stubb, and as always, I'm joined by Silvius. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. How about yourself?
Doing okay. Waking up on this fine Sunday morning / early afternoon with a nice cup of Joe.
I like that jacket.
Oh, thanks. It's my Raiders of the Lost Ark jacket.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It's from, forget the name of this. This is such a weird way to start the show. I forget the name of the company. It doesn't look like it's printed inside, but some English company. And says, this jacket's based on the original pattern as designed and made by me for Harrison Ford in the film Raiders of the Lost Ark. And that's signed by Peter Botright. So whoever Peter Botright works
and you
for.
You got your solo blaster nearby too. It's all coming together.
A question? Is that even a question, baby? Always ready. But yeah, so I guess let's talk some Star Citizen, huh? Got a few things. Kind of a busy week for the game this week, actually. Quite a bit to dive into. But before we start with the new things for this week, we want to tackle some comments we got from last week's episode.
Yeah, we've been having some good comments on YouTube lately about discussions we've been having and stuff, and we always like reading other people's comments and their point of views and stuff like that. So on last week's episode, one of our viewers, Delnorian, I think I'm saying that right. I'm terrible at saying names, so if I screw up somebody's name, I apologize.
Yeah, I think Delnorian is it, yeah.
But one of the comments we picked out here, I'll just go ahead and read it. Once ships are needed, you don't need money. Need rent costs for your hangar, paying your insurance for your ships, wear and tear on components, needing to replace that QT drive. Perhaps an insurance only covers standard components. And if you want to upgrade out of the manufacturer's standard, insurance does not cover that. That could funnel more money and reasons to keep saving and work to build up your account just in case. Renting apartments, cost of org bases, security, paying NPC crew members. So yeah, that's one of the big things we talk about here a lot. And I have a hard time remembering what we discuss week to week, so I'm not sure what point exactly that was referring to that we talked about. But
I think we were talking about economy.
Probably,
because in particular there. And there's just the need for more money sinks, right?
Yeah, we do bring up economy a lot, especially since they've brought up the economy team on one of the Star Citizen lives here recently. And yeah, that's kind of one of the big things that Star Citizen is missing right now is kind of gold sinks and stuff to work towards, more progression. As far as like apartments and stuff, that is something I'm definitely looking forward to. Persistent habs, and yeah, I hope in the future we get some org mechanics where you can pull your money together by org ships, org bases, things of that nature. So yeah, the game definitely needs some more things to spend your money on.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, because we've talked about it before. Currently in game, you can grind and grind and grind, make all the credits you want. But essentially, once you have all the ships you're interested in, that's about it. The cost of refueling, the cost of repairing. I mean, there is technically a cost, but by the time you're running through missions, like, you're not going to notice that maintenance money going out. It's a tiny, tiny fraction of what you'll end up making. So we need more carrots. We need more sticks, and we need more carrots. Essentially, I think is kind of where we're at right now.
Oh yeah.
So and hopefully that'll come.
The gameplay can only carry the game so far, unless there's things to work towards.
Yeah, we really have. We've reached that point, right? Like we like our reward progress trackers, and we like to see things get unlocked and, new things to go, hey, check out what I got. We like our carrots. It's just, it's in the nature of gamers, I think, at this point. It's how we've been programmed. So, but good comment though. I think all the things that Del Noren mentioned would help for sure, but there's still, so many things that Del Noren covered in that comment still all, for the most part, revolved around your ship, right? He talked about NPC crews, talked about apartment costs, that sort of thing, but by and large, it's still all ship dependent. And I don't know, man. I want more things. I think really what I'm most interested in as far as a money sink goes going forward is what exactly player bases are going to look like and what are the maintenance costs of those things going to be.
Right.
So, but we'll see. It'll just be a matter of time. Anything else on the comment side of things we want to touch on, or that pretty much wrapped it up for me?
I think that pretty much wrapped it up. Just, we're going to be talking about the letter from the chairman here in a little bit, and they mentioned Star Citizen 1.0, and I think a lot of the things in that comment allude to stuff that will have to be included in the game whenever 1.0 happens.
Yep, absolutely. Let's go ahead and start to talk about what's going on with Star Citizen this week, huh? Shall we?
Yeah. Stella Fortuna.
Stella Fortuna. Back again. Let's see. On the page, it says, this time of year, from Banshee to Horse, you can feel a manic tension creep across the verse. Trigger fingers start getting itchy. Credits begin igniting fires within pockets, and every risk taker, daredevil, and intrepid adventurer, the galaxy overfills the urge to put it all on the line. You going to be putting it on the line?
Always. Putting it on the line and then holding it.
That's right. It all goes back around to holding the line. But yeah, Stella Fortuna, it happens around St. Patrick's Day every year in the game. It's kind of the Star Citizen version of St. Patrick's Day, I suppose. And there's a challenge coin that we can go after this time around that's kind of cool. So for the challenge coin, it says, get your arena commander crew together for a little Stella Fortuna themed team elimination. Punks can find out once and for all if they truly feel lucky. Well, do you? And the top player of the winning team will earn a special Stella Fortuna 54 coin. I want that coin. I want the coin. When they do these events and they give us like badges to unlock on Spectrum, like, oh, that stuff's cool. But it's, even though we're talking about it's a challenge coin, it's a little nothing, right? But still, just the fact that it's something quote unquote tangible in game, I think is pretty cool, right? It's something else that we can put on our desk or whatever.
Yeah, I missed out on the Coremore tokens for Arena Commander, so I think probably even today after we record this podcast, I'm probably going to jump in and see if I can unlock that Fortuna token.
Yeah, but they've got a whole CommLink post up on the website if you want to check out more details on Stella Fortuna. But it is currently online, and they of course they have some ship packages available as well, and limited edition paint schemes and all that good stuff for the event too.
Yeah, some new paints. I think the Avenger might be on sale. Yeah, I think now's a pretty decent time for new people to get into the game. It seems like the game is running decent right now, and maybe get their feet wet before all these changes come in. Yeah.
And unfortunately, the Fortuna Legends pack has sold out at the price of $495. However, there's still limited stock of the Legends pack at $450. Not sure what I guess one was Warbond, the other wasn't Warbond, maybe.
Probably, yeah.
And there's still 51 copies left of the Fortuna Ultimate Party Pack for $2,995. So still in stock. Get them while you can. 33 left of the Ultimate Party Pack at $3,350.
Did you get yours yet?
No, I'm waiting until after we're done with the show.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that tax return to hit, and I'll probably go get mine later.
Let's see. That's not the only thing happening. We also have the Overdrive event. And the Overdrive event is something new to the game, right? Stella Fortuna happens every year, but Overdrive, this is its first year, and it's kind of part of Xeno Threat, right? So I'm just going to read off this top bit from the Overdrive page on the website. It says, Overdrive Initiative Xenothreat is putting our system and its people in peril yet again, and we can't fight them alone. Join the Civilian Defense Force for a multi-week series of missions to play your part in foiling the most diabolical threat to Stanton yet. Over the following weeks, volunteers will be tasked with capturing intel, targeting key insurgents, countering strike forces, and more, all in the pursuit of victory. Due to the severity of the situation, Anvil Aerospace has released its next-generation space superiority fighter onto the civilian market, stronger, faster, and harder hitting. The MK2 is a complete evolution of the storied Hornet medium fighter revered the Empire over. And those who prove themselves during this initiative will be awarded a complimentary upgrade from the F-7C to the military-exclusive F-7A for their service. Kind of a big deal.
Yeah, so the Overdrive event is part of what they're calling now their global events instead of dynamic, I believe.
Yeah.
So it seems like over the next couple of months leading up into Invictus, we're going to have a few different missions to complete, and I believe you can complete those retroactively. Like right now, they're running this one this week. They'll start a new one next week, but you can still go back next week and do this first one that's out.
That's nice. That's really
and I believe they're all going to be available all the way up until Invictus. So you have a few weeks to get in there and complete them or do whatever to get your token if that's what you're going after.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it looks like currently, right, we're still just on mission 1, which is Overdrive Initiative Intel Raid. It says Naval Intelligence has located numerous Xenothreat cells already opening or operating in Stettin, preparing and scouting for the impending attack. CDF needs you to locate and neutralize these groups and recover all remaining intel. Open your Moby Glass and accept the Overdrive Initiative Intel Raid mission to get started, which I think these essentially, they take place down in bunkers, right? These are new bunker missions.
It's essentially the data heist missions.
Okay. Yep.
And I think you have to complete 5 of them to finish this first week of missions.
That's doable.
Yeah, I don't think it's too bad. But I mean, I like this idea for the event, and it's way better than the F8C event. We'll just go ahead and say that, with the golden ticket and everything.
Yeah.
It still feels pretty store market driven. You know, it's a I'm not going to say money grab, but it's all aimed towards trying to sell people that new Hornet, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. It definitely has a marketing vibe to it for sure.
So, I mean, I understand they have to make money, and I'm cool with them, doing events for trying to sell stuff. That's fine. I just wish they would give us something for those people that aren't going to go buy this $170 ship to upgrade to the military version. I wish they would just give us a little something in game, like the Fortuna token. It doesn't have to be something crazy. Give us a poster with the F7A on it for our Habs, or a model of the ship to put in our hangars.
I was just going to ask, so as somebody who is interested in doing these missions, but does not own a Hornet, doesn't plan on getting a Hornet pledge, what's my reward?
You still get the token.
I still get the token. Okay.
You don't have to own the F7C MK2 to earn the token. So the token will be put in your hangar if you unlock it. So you later down the line, if you decide to buy a F7C, you can upgrade it later. But they, as of now, the game's not released, and when you buy a ship in game, it's not attributed to your hangar. And they haven't said anything about changing this in the future, so I wouldn't expect it to, but maybe in the future, you buy a ship in game, you buy the F7C Mark II in game, it's attributed to your hangar, and then you can use that token. but they haven't said that that's going to be the case, because as of right now, you have to own it with real life money in your hangar to be able to apply the upgrade.
I think that would be a nice middle ground, right? Because like I'm not bent out of shape about not having any interest in the Hornet upgrade or whatever. So I'm not sincerely being like, but what about me? What's my reward? But I was kind of curious, like, is there anything beyond just the gameplay element to encourage more people that aren't Hornet owners to go after this? And I think sorry, go ahead.
You get a rental. You get a 3-day rental. That's what you get.
Oh,
Of the F7A.
Like almost like a trial period to see if it's something I would be interested in buying from the pledge store. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Your first 3 days are free. But no, I think the idea of having that upgrade available for an in-game purchased Hornet as well is a good middle ground to have, right? Because I mean, part of the whole marketing of this game is, yes, we have this pledge store. Yes, it's how we bring in a huge amount of funding for the project. But there's been this counterpoint of, well, everything's still unlockable in game, right? At some point.
Right.
And if they made it to where, okay, if I buy the F7C in game and then get that F7A upgrade later, still in game, like that's fine. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that would be fairly easy to do. I don't think that would necessarily cost them all that much money, honestly. Because I feel like people are pretty much, I don't want to say people can't be influenced by an event like this, and it won't create a scenario where some players are like, you know what, maybe I will check out the Hornet. But I feel like for the most part, people already have in their minds what they want to have in their fleet. And I just don't know how many people are persuaded by like a ship specific event like this. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to be, whether or not I'm a Hornet owner isn't going to be dependent on this event. It's either a ship I'm interested in or not.
There are some people that will pull that trigger though, just because it's the FOMO tactics. Like, this ship, you can, if you buy it now, if you buy the F7C now and you get the token, you'll get the F7A later. And it feels like that's the only way you're ever going to get it. There's no, oh, guys, in the future we'll sell the F7A independently for more money. There's no, you can unlock it through Squadron 42. It's just, you have to buy this now. You have to get this token, and that's the only way you're going to get this ship. So I feel like
I don't believe it. I don't think they're going to lock that behind an alpha state of the game.
I would hope not, but I feel like there are people that have that feeling that, oh, if I don't buy this now, I might not get that ship in the future. So I think it works to some degree, and but yeah, I would like to see them definitely make that token usable for an in-game ship, even if it's post 1.0 or whatever. And and if they do that, it's definitely a good middle ground. If not, I feel like there just needs to be a little more tangible reward for those people that don't want to spend real money. A CDF armor, another token, just something simple. Just make it feel rewarding.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And regardless, I do want to play through these missions and follow the event and all that good stuff. But
yeah, I want to do it to get that token, just in case one day they do make that a thing where you can apply it to in-game ships, because the Hornets look, in my opinion, they look awesome. I like the style better than the F8, which that's a heavy versus medium fighter, but whatever. They kind of remind me of the Battlestar Galactica Vipers a little bit with the cockpit. That's maybe why I like them so much. But I would like to have one as one of my main combat ships, but I can't justify going and spending that $170 on this ship just to make sure I have it in the future. I could melt my vulture, I guess, but then I wouldn't have my vulture anymore. So
to me, unless Chris comes out on stage and it's just like, I swear on my mama, on God, no cap, for real, the only way you're going to be able to get this ship is through this event that's taking place in this one particular alpha build of the game. Unless that happens, like, I don't buy that you'll never have an opportunity to get it in game again.
yeah,
You know?
I think they'll make it available in some capacity, but as of right now, it does feel like that FOMO tactic is running wild.
All right, so Overdrive event has started. We were teased about that for a bit. Obviously the really big thing is the letter from the chairman, but before we get to that, CIG's teasing us a bit. So it looked like back in the November-December monthly report, they talked about animation team spending some time bringing creatures to the verse, starting with a 4-legged predator, a bird, and a fish. That was a few months ago. And at the very end of the most recent episode of Inside Star Citizen, we get a tease of a character running away from some sort of flying creature. And then after that, CIG put out on socials, their Facebook, their Twitter, all that good stuff. It's like a 5-second, 6-second clip of a character with a flare. Looks like they're at the mouth of a cave of some sort. And from within the cave, there's a growl or a roar. And there's no real context added to it. It's just a little snippet of a clip. But it's starting to feel like we might have some wildlife coming to the verse potentially in 323. Like, it's not on the roadmap or whatever, but it does seem like they're teasing us quite a bit.
Yeah, I was about to say I don't recall, like, of course I've only been around since like 3.8 ish, I think, but I don't recall a point between then and now that they've teased something like this that's not been like on the roadmap or just blatantly like, hey, this is coming next patch, because I feel like CIG has that oh, look what we're making thing, like, even if they put it on the roadmap and they're like, oh, this is coming, and then it gets taken off, they just like can't help themselves but be like, oh, this cool new thing is coming. So we've never had a cryptic tease like this with like the little short Instagram video, the picture at the end of ISC, the space cow was even in the Hornet video that came out a few days ago. So they're really teasing us with some fauna here, and that would be a cool thing to do, just kind of tease us, and then we jump into 323 and have a mission in a cave, and oh shit, there's something else in the cave that's hunting us. That would be really fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I still have this dream of, being able to hunt and fish and tame and all that good stuff within Star Citizen. I'm an old, I like classes in games where I guess you can control minions is the way to put it, right? But primarily I was a big creature handler back in Star Wars Galaxies. I like the idea of going out into the wild, taming a pet, and then, either taking it into combat or using it as a mount or just as a little pet that follows you around, you hang out with, and you know what I mean? I want to be able to do that in Star Citizen. I don't think it'll get to that extreme in 323. I'm assuming. No, I shouldn't say assume. I'm setting my expectations to where if we do get some wildlife of some sort in 323, maybe it's like one creature that we can actually attack or be attacked by, and then maybe like, I don't know if I guess essentially, I don't know if there's going to be a mix of different wildlife types in the game. Some that you can interact with, and then others are just like purely environmental, but like you could take a shot at them or whatever, and it's not going to get affected. Or is it going to be more like Red Dead Redemption, where if it's on the map, you can shoot at it and kill it? You know what I mean? Um, so I'm a little curious to see how that plays out and starts this. I'm hoping that they go for the full on, like, yeah, everything's fair game. And not just for hunting, but also again for taming. I think it'd be cool to be able to set up a pet store on my merchant man one day. Here's where you can get some different exotic pets from all around the verse. That's some gameplay I would be truly interested in. Going out, having to restock, and with that sort of business venture, the restocking is going out into the wild and seeing what you can capture and bring back. I don't know. It seems interesting to me. And I don't think that it's going to be anything huge initially, but honestly, even just a couple forms of wildlife at this point would be a huge difference, because currently we have really none. I mean, there's like the little bug or whatever thing in the shell that you can find in caves, and like the little legs move around, and there's been some stuff like that, but nothing that really feels. They also tease like the slugs or whatever with pyro, but you know what I mean? Nothing that feels like a full world with all sorts of different life forms. Like we still don't have that yet.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back to our episode where we read through the stretch goals, one of those goals was pets.
Pets, yeah. So it's not like it's pie in the sky. I'm just making this up,
Yeah, and that's one of the things I've really talked about and been interested in, even before we started this podcast, were animals, and like you were saying, like an animal, not necessarily tamer, but just someone who uses these animals as a means of making money. Like you said, I think they probably will go with like everything being tangible and you can kill it, shoot at it, interact with it. But at what scale is that going to be when it first comes out? They're going to put these predators in the caves, the birds in the sky. We can shoot them, but then what do we do with them? Can we harvest stuff from them to obviously crafting is a ways away. So we're not going to have crafting when they first come out, but I would hope that you could, go hunt these things, collect their pelts, various things from them to then craft certain armors or weapons or whatever. And, or, we don't know if these same animals are going to be able to be tamed and made into pets, or if the pets are going to be totally separate from the fauna. But yeah, just the first iteration of putting them in the game, I feel will be pretty simple, but I think it's going to add a lot of, I hate using the word all the time, but immersion to the game. Just like even, just bird sounds or creature sounds like out in the wild, just making the planets feel more alive is going to add a lot of value to the game, I believe.
Those little details make a huge difference. Like they really do. So we'll see what happens, but I could definitely see it as, okay, we get one or two things in 323, but by this time next year, I mean, this could be something like similar to, say, Outpost, for example, right? When we first started to get Outposts, there was just a couple, and now they're kind of all over Stanton, right? They continue to populate with more and more of them in different variety, and I could see, wildlife going in a similar direction. Like once they finally do start to add them to game, then the ball really starts to get rolling, and you get more and more, maybe potentially almost every patch, every update. So
I always assumed they would wait until server meshing or until the servers were at a bit better of a place to add fauna. So for them to tease it for 323 was kind of a surprise for me.
Well, we might not be that far away from server meshing and all of that finally coming online,
Yeah. Let's dig into what Chris had to say about server meshing and everything coming up here.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, with that, let's go ahead and let's get into in my mind, what's the real headliner for this week. We got a new letter from the chairman. it used to be back in the day, Chris was all over the Star Citizen YouTube channel content that was coming out, a bunch of different shows he'd pop up on. And, there were different programs, 10 for the chairman, that sort of thing, different Q&A type things. But over the years, it's gotten more and more to the point to where we really only hear from Chris during CitizenCon and through these letter from the chairman.
It's like
So
seeing
we
a
got
unicorn.
Exactly. But we got one this week. It came out, I believe, on the 14th of March. And what a letter it was. So for anybody who hasn't read through it, it's up on the robertspaceindustrial.com website. We also did a CommLink alert for it where you can listen to me read it to you. So we're not going to read through it word for word on this one because we've kind of already done that, but we're going to talk about some of the bigger components, at least in our opinion, of this letter. So he starts off with kind of like a recap of the previous year, nothing really unexpected. He talks about PES being introduced with 3.18 and some of the difficulties with that. He did give us some pretty interesting numbers, though, that I do want to touch on before we get into, kind of the looking ahead stuff. I thought these were really impressive. So he says, thanks to all of you and a huge wave in Q4, 2023 was our best year ever, with record highs in daily active players, monthly active players, unique logins, and hours played for the year. More than 1.1 million of you set foot into the PU in 2023. That's a lot of people. 1.1 million. So, and I think up on the website, it's got like over 5 million accounts or whatever. And we've kind of wondered like how many of those are duplicate accounts. Like we both have alt accounts, a good boy and a bad boy account. And how many of those are people that, signed up for an account so they can post on Spectrum, but maybe don't have a game package, that sort of thing. You wonder about. Well, according to Chris, 1.1 million people played throughout 2023. So that's a pretty strong, respectable number, I feel like.
Even after the 318 mishap.
Even after, yeah, exactly. When so many people literally, still in this in comment sections to this day, you'll see people say, "Oh man, all this money for a game you can't even play." You can fucking play Star Citizen. You can log in and play Star Citizen right now if you want to. But during 318, that was not the case for everybody, right? Some people were locked out of the game for weeks at a time before they were able to log back in. So 318 was really messy. But we got on the other side of that. And he also talked about, the acquisition of Turbulent up in Montreal happened. That was another big significant moment for the game as well. But then we start to look ahead towards 2024, right? He makes mention of the first successful jump point test. We actually talked about that on the show last week, but now we have a name for who did it. So in lore, the first jump was a character named Nick Croshaw. But in the verse, in the tangible verse that we can play in, the first player to do it was an Evocati member named Mr. Trash. And I love that username. I love that player name.
It's very fitting.
It happened. Mr. Trash did it. He's a trailblazer in that sense. So they had a successful jump point test, which obviously is huge because that kind of depends on server meshing and all the replication layer tech working and yeah, all of that working, which is something that we've been waiting on for years and years and years. And it finally happened last week. So that was really exciting. They also covered Benoit as CTO, Chief Tech Officer at Cloud Imperium. So Benoit's been around he's been a favorite of many on like ISC and that sort of thing here lately. And there's a nice quote from him where he talks about introduction of streaming capabilities to Star Engine, like the client object container streaming, followed by SOCs, followed by PES. And he kind of takes us through all the tech milestones that have led us up to 323. And it was a nice quote, but nothing like really new in there, I guess. Like, did anything stick out to you as far as like, this is a new bit of info?
Not really. Pretty good review of kind of stuff that has been going on and everything. But before we move on,
Mhm.
can we talk about that picture for the jump point for just a second?
Yeah. With all the
The one
structure
with-
around it.
Yeah, with the structure around it. So they haven't specifically, I think they might have come out and said they moved away from the structures around the jump gates because the jump gates appear, I guess not randomly, but they're not man-made
Right.
wormholes. So I think they said they moved away from the structures because of the structures made it seem like people were creating the holes to jump through.
Mhm.
But man, I really wish they would reconsider that.
Why can't it just be, hey, look, we found another one. Let's build something around this thing so that it's more
Right.
obvious. And also, like, just visually, it looks cooler. with
Yeah, it looks
structure around
way
it.
more sci-fi, and like, you get this grand, like enormous, like structure that you wouldn't see in
Yeah.
like today's world. It's like, if you look at the bingle there compared to the size of the gate, that gate is huge.
Yes.
So I don't know if it's like a development reason where they can't make these huge structures right now, or maybe a gameplay reason where they're thinking about maybe multiple ships jumping through the gate at one time and having to squeeze through that gate or something. But yeah, I've seen, I mean, they have the jump points there now. You can go visit in Stanton. They're
Yeah.
just not operational. And it really just, like, you have all these structures leading up to it, and then it's just like kind of like a shimmery little, thing just kind of floating there. But
Well, and that's the thing
yeah.
with the structure. It not only does it look cool, but it looks cool enough to where they still included it in this letter from the chairman.
Yeah,
Even though maybe
and
it's not going to represent the final form. Like, obviously
not-
it's a great design looking. Other than optimization reasons or whatever tech reasons, but just visually, I can't understand why they would move away just because these wormholes are naturally forming. It's like, okay, we build shit around naturally forming stuff all the time. It's what people do.
yeah, I mean, not all of them need a structure, because like Carracks and stuff are supposed to be plotting these like new jump points that appear in systems and stuff. But I feel like for major ones, like between Stanton and Pyro, and in between Terra and wherever, ones with major planets and people inhabiting that system, like maybe they build these huge structures to stabilize the jump point or something, or
Yeah.
be able to guard it better from Vandal or who knows. But if you're a CIG dev and you're one of the people working on this, please reconsider, because I think it looks awesome with those.
It does. And, as far as them being naturally occurring, the other thing too is, like, think of Niagara Falls, right? Niagara Falls is a natural waterfall. It's not man-made. Yet if you go there's guardrails they built around it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, they made it safe for people to be. I look at the structure as, similar to guardrails for your ship. Make sure that you're on the right track, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know, man. I hope they reconsider the structure and go full on with it. I don't know.
Yeah, I
why
didn't mean to
not.
get off on a little tangent there, but I just really love that screenshot. And like, even one of my wallpapers on my PC is a shot of a jump point, kind of almost in atmosphere of a planet, and it looks really cool. So
I know that image you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to point that out, and I hope it's just a temporary thing where they've, kind of taken them out for now, and maybe they're working on them in the background, or they're going to bring them in later or something. But yeah, they've been showing pictures like that, concept art like that, for years and years, and to remove them from the game,
Yeah.
feels like a missed opportunity.
It does. And, maybe they'll reconsider once they hear our feedback,
Yeah.
Moving on with the with the letter, and this part I am just gonna kind of straight up read from Chris because it's a lot of hype. As we set our sights on the year ahead, the team remains focused and committed to ushering the community into uncharted territories with the release of Pyro and Star Citizen Alpha 4.0. I cannot stress how much this is an inflection point, as it will allow many people to play together, but also to seamlessly travel to different star systems. All this points towards 2024 being our biggest and best year yet in the universe of Star Citizen. But Star Citizen Alpha 4.0 is not our final destination. With that, I have more exciting news to share. As we revealed at CitizenCon with Squadron 42 achieving the feature complete milestone, we are now able to bring features developed for Squadron 42 to the persistent universe at an accelerated rate. As part of this, towards the end of last year, we decided to reorganize the Star Citizen and Squadron 42 teams to be more integrated to facilitate bringing several years worth of feature work and polish to Star Citizen, and finally set our sail out for Star Citizen's own finish line. While we recognize there's no definitive finish line in an online MMO and that we will always be adding new features and content for many, many years to come, Star Citizen 1.0 is what we consider the features and content set to represent commercial release. This means the game is welcoming to new players, stable and polished, with enough gameplay and content to engage players continuously. In other words, it is no longer alpha or early access, much like we planned out Squadron 42's drive to feature complete and the upcoming content complete status. We spent significant time looking at what Star Citizen 1.0 means and what it would take to get there. Then he goes on to talk about how there's an internal roadmap that's in place that Chris and Rich have kind of worked on together in tandem. And he goes on to say we'll start to see more rapid expansion of features and content coming from Squadron 42 to Star Citizen, starting with Alpha 323. And then he kind of continues to talk about Rich, and there's a quote from Rich as well. But man, just the fact that, all right, so we kind of first hear about Star Citizen 1.0 with that Substack leak from like late last year, early this year, right? And we're not sure how much of that leak is true, how much is not true. There's a lot of different talk about tech debt and there being problems with like legacy tech in there. There was talk about there being problems with like rockstar personalities within the dev teams. But then there was also talk about Star Citizen 1.0 coming in 2025. And we really didn't hear any mention about us, like specifically, quote unquote, Star Citizen 1.0 from CIG at that point. And then on Spectrum, a couple weeks ago, there was another little mention of Star Citizen 1.0. It's like, oh, there might be some credence to that leak from a couple months ago. And then we get this letter from the chairman this week. And Chris multiple times mentions Star Citizen 1.0. It's like, oh, shit, they really are starting to, put together a roadmap and have at least a vague idea in mind of when they would want to see this happen, right? So it's exciting that we're starting to talk about a commercial out of early access version of Star Citizen, but we still don't know when, right?
Just
That's still the big question. Just two more years.
Hold the line for 2 more years.
It's 2 more years. And so I don't know, man. There's 2 parts of me on this. One is super hyped, super excited, and then the other part of me remembers that this is not the first time that we've got really excited by a letter from the chairman, and then things just took longer than expected.
Yeah.
But I will say this does feel different because of the reallocation of resources to Star Citizen. Because 323, for all the good and bad and all the debate and controversy that's coming with it, it does seem to be, love it, hate it, or indifferent, a huge, massive update coming to the game, the likes of which we haven't seen in a long time. And if that is going to be the pace that we're going on going forward, if every patch ends up feeling as significant as 323 going forward, or not every patch, but let's say half the patches, maybe Star Citizen 1.0 can happen by the end of 2025. We're a little over halfway through March 2024. Another year and 9 months. Maybe they can squeak this thing out by the end of 2025. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not a dev working at CIG, but it does seem like they're not lying about this accelerated pacing of new features coming to Star Citizen. It does seem like they're pretty damn committed to that at this point.
I think 323 is going to be a big tell of how the rest of the year and maybe next year is going to go.
Yeah.
We haven't got a proper Evocati test for 323 yet, and it is mid-March at the recording of this episode. But they are supposed to be starting one either today or this coming week, starting to test some features. So
Can we talk about those features? Like, is that allowed through the Evocati NDA?
Yeah, we can
Now at
talk
this
about
point?
Evocati patch notes. They can't share video or screenshots or anything like that. But anything in the patch notes we can discuss. Yeah.
Okay, because you sent me a screenshot of stuff that they were talking about in this 323 build for Evocati. Says this build will focus on stability, the new character creator, EVA tier 2, the new loot screen, the visor update, dynamic crosshair, reloading changes, physical shopping, and replication layer server crash recovery. So those are some pretty major features of 323 being part of this next Evocati test. So
Yeah.
hopefully, if this goes well, hopefully we can start to see a change from Evocati to PTU by the end of the month. But yeah, looking at the calendar, we're we're running out of weeks of March.
Yeah, I was hoping. I mean, it might be in there, just not mentioned in that message of the day. But I'm hoping the new star map is in the patch.
Yeah, because you're right. It's not specifically stated.
Yeah, it doesn't mention a few things like the star map, the cargo updates, the persistent hangars, the freight elevators, the distribution centers. None of that is in this first Evocati test. So, yeah, I mean they might get this out in April.
Yeah,
we're really not sure yet, but I mean this patch has, like Jared was saying the other week on, I think it was Star Citizen Live, this has as much content as like a normal 3 patches would have. So this missing the quarter update cadence, I'm not really been out of shape about. And we'll have to see when they get this out, how it's going, how the replication layer is behaving. But those server meshing tests with the working jump point, that was kind of surprising that it just kind of happened and came out of nowhere. So that does make me hopeful that, we might get this 323 and then, maybe we don't get another patch until the end of the year and it's 4.0, which I would be okay with. If we only got 2 patches this year, if one is 323 with all these features and then 4.0 with Pyro,
right,
and the rest of the Squadron 42 stuff, that would still be a banger year for Star Citizen, if they can get Pyro out this year. So, but what else has to happen to get us to that 1.0, after Pyro? In the comment that Richard Tyre had on the letter here, he says they'll now be focused on bringing all the existing features over to Squadron 42 that we know, as well as working on brand new features like base building and crafting to help round out the 1.0 experience. And as far as we know, base building was supposed to start development Q1 this year.
Yeah, that was the word.
We haven't heard anything on crafting really, just mentions of it here and there. So, how long does it take them to develop base building and crafting at this point that all these people are moving back over to Squadron 42 remains to be seen. But man, if they could get it out end of next year, early 2026, it'd be crazy. If you would have asked me this last year, I would have said Star Citizen 1.0, 5 more years.
Yeah.
Easy. But with all this talk of it, maybe we really are only waiting 2 more years,
It could be real this time. I mean, that's the thing,
It
right?
could be.
If 1.0 ever does happen at some point, yeah, you're 2 years out for real.
Yeah, I'm trying to remain cautiously optimistic here, but I mean, we've been burned before, but I don't know, this internal roadmap and everything. I hope they don't release it after 323 and be like, here's our internal roadmap, and then miss all these dates and goals they're trying to hit. But
yeah, so speaking of that, Chris goes on and says that as that roadmap comes together and becomes validated, we look forward to sharing with you both its vision and executional plan later this year. I think that's CitizenCon. I don't think we're going to see this roadmap anytime before October.
Yeah, they'll definitely save some big stuff for CitizenCon, that probably being one of them.
Yeah.
I think we could see a release date for Squadron and maybe a tentative release date for Star Citizen 1.0 at this year's CitizenCon.
Yeah, I think we get Squadron 42 release date and that roadmap. Yeah. So maybe it will work out to where Squadron 42 and Star Citizen 1.0 both come out in 2025. We'll have to see, but I don't think it's impossible. I also don't think it's likely. I could see Squadron coming out next year and maybe Star Citizen 1.0 being a 2026 thing. I think it's possible it makes it by the end of 2025, but I have a gut feeling that it'll get pushed back at least one more year. If 2025 is indeed what they're targeting. Yeah,
I'm not expecting it next year, really. Like, it would be amazing if they got it out next year, but I'm not going to get my hopes up for it because, I mean, if we think about all the things that they're going to have to develop for that 1.0, goes back to that comment by Del Norin that we talked about at the beginning of the episode. We got to have more progression. We got to have, more things to spend our money on. I think for me, put base building in the game, and we're done. I'm playing the shit out of this game for a long time. Base building, creature handling, send it. I'm there. So yeah, like stuff like that, it's gonna have to be developed. So we'll see.
Also, I want to touch on from this letter. Chris mentions that from a personal standpoint, I've moved to Austin, Texas, from LA to be closer in time zone to our main development operations in Manchester, Frankfurt, and Montreal. Spending significant time at our largest studio in Manchester with almost 600 staff as I sit with Rich and the teams working towards completion on Squadron 42 and Star Citizen. As part of this, we made the difficult decision to ask the Los Angeles development team, which had increasingly been providing support for the main development teams based in Manchester, to relocate to join other teams, primarily in Manchester, but also in Austin and Montreal. Los Angeles, while shrinking, will still be an important office for the company, but one focusing on a business support role with marketing, finance, legal, and HR. And here's the point that I really want to touch on. As part of this reorganization, we sadly waved goodbye to the Persistent Universe live director, Todd Pappy, as he had moved back to the US from the UK last year for family reasons. And after much soul searching, I determined that we cannot afford to have this role remote from the main team in Manchester for a good portion of the year. It's a sad moment, as Todd worked diligently for the last 9 years on Star Citizen, making many important contributions and providing excellent leadership of his teams. I wish him the best of luck and look forward to seeing what he does next. So, there was talk about Todd being gone from CIG for a little while now. I think somebody noticed on his LinkedIn profile that something had changed, and we hadn't really seen from him for a little while. Was the last time we saw Todd, was that CitizenCon?
Yeah, he was actually the one that presented and talked about base building.
Yeah, but I couldn't remember if he was on an ISC or SCL after that. I don't think he was, right?
I don't know, man. My brain is mush. So
fair enough. There's a lot that's happened since CitizenCon. But anyway, Todd's been with the project for a long time, and I always enjoyed him. But we didn't want to really bring it up necessarily because we didn't know the story. there were some people out there speculating, but as invested in the game we are, and we want to keep up with all the details of its progress. This was one of those things where I didn't really feel comfortable speculating on, because it's involving somebody's personal life, financial life, right? There's a lot that happens. There's a lot of things to consider when we're talking about somebody's career and livelihood here, right? But I will say I always enjoyed seeing Todd on videos. I felt like Todd has a nature. He always seemed like he was keeping it real with the audience. You know what I mean? Like Todd never came across to me as one of the devs that was really trying to set unrealistic expectations for people. He seemed to have a bit of a more reserved nature, which I appreciated. Honestly, he seemed like a pretty good counterbalance to Chris.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, I like Chris too, but for different reasons. They and I don't know either of these guys personally, but seem to have pretty different personalities that balanced each other out pretty well. And I'm gonna miss seeing that, but definitely do wish the best for Todd going forward. And thanks, man, for all the work you did over the years. Like, sincerely.
Yeah, he's going to be missed for sure.
Yeah. Yep. And I hope he, finds a great job and finds something else to challenge him creatively, and something that he feels is fulfilling for him. What else can you say? Let's see. Chris continues on with talking about 323 some more, and this is kind of interesting, I think, because it gives me at least a hint of what he's expecting for 323. So he says, I'm looking forward to getting your hands on Star Citizen Alpha 323 soon, where you'll finally be able to experience many features we've been hard at work on for the past couple of years, which will then lead into Invictus launch week in May. So that sounds like he's expecting 323 to hit before Invictus week in May.
Yeah, I think these Overdrive events that we talked about are going to be running all the way till Invictus in May.
Yeah, that too, but I think 323 itself, right? From what he's saying, you will finally be able to experience many features we've been hard at work on for the past couple of years, which will then lead into Invictus launch. So who knows if we'll actually hit that target. But if this letter from the chairman's anything to go by, Chris, it sounds like it's saying 323 before Invictus in May.
It's going to be interesting if they run this Overdrive event. Like right now we have it going on in 322.1, and they run like 2-3 missions in 322, and then the last mission or two is going to be in 323. Wonder how that's going to work out, but or maybe they finish it off before 323. I don't know. Yeah. But I do feel like they'll have to get out 323 before Invictus, and then they'll probably have a 0.1 patch for Invictus.
Yeah, I hope that we definitely get it before Invictus, because there's still like this nightmare scenario in my head of like, oh God, what if 323 and Invictus are the same week, and they add a free fly on top of that, and the servers just die forever? You know
that's going to happen. They're going to run a free fly for Invictus is 100% going to happen. If it drops the same time as 323, it's going to be messy. But I think we've talked about this before. I wish they would do the free flies the week before an event.
Yes.
So you can get in, play the game, do your free fly stuff while the servers aren't on fire, and then if you like the game and you want to experience the event, then you spend the $45 for the starter package, and you can fly all the cool ships they give you during the event and stuff. So I think that'd be a better way to do it. I understand the hype. They're like, oh, we got a cool event, come check it out, free fly, whatever. But for people who play the game normally, weekly, daily, free flies are always a struggle.
Yeah, and hey, look, if they can get servers to the point to where they can really handle that mass influx of free fly players in addition to just people that already have the game, um, that's one thing. But in the past, I mean, free fly pretty much every time is a guarantee to set servers on fire. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes this year, but I'm at least until 4.0, I'm not expecting free flies to be any different than they have been in the past as far as server stability goes. You know,
Yeah,
maybe once
until
we get server mesh and replication layers and all that stuff is rocking and rolling on PU, then it might be a different story. But until then, I'm not going to get my hopes up for smooth free fly weeks.
Yeah, me neither. Because they did test some larger player counts in the server during the server meshing test.
Yeah, I think from 200 to 400 people, right? Somewhere in
Yeah.
there, that ballpark.
Yeah, and I think around, from what I've read, around 300 was still, mostly playable,
Yeah.
but up around 400 was pretty rough. But until we get the dynamic server meshing where they have the certain landing zones and stuff on their own server, yeah, free flies and stuff are even then they still might be a shit show. Who knows? I don't know.
They might be.
Yeah,
they might be.
That's going to be the determining factor there, is getting that dynamic server meshing working.
Yeah. Let's finish up this letter here. Chris ends. He talks about the power of the community. He says the driving force behind our success is our extended team, each and every one of you. Together, we've built a community that not only plays a crucial role in our development, but also embodies our passion for the Star Citizen universe. And then blah, blah, blah. You were there for the iconic helmet flip and the opening of the hangar doors for the first time in Alpha 0.8. Together, we explored the vast expanse of the persisting universe and for the first time in Alpha 2.0, and you were on board for the inaugural planetary landing in Alpha 3.0. And soon we will be leaving the Stanton system as we venture into the lawless wastelands of the Pyro system in Alpha 4.0, thanks to server meshing. And beyond this, Star Citizen 1.0 twinkles on the horizon. The future has never been so bright, and I couldn't be happier taking this journey with all of you. So, in classic Chris Roberts fashion, he ends it on this note full of optimism and hope, and the future's always looking brighter and brighter and brighter all the time. But again, I think he's got good reason to be this excited this time around.
Yeah, it does. It does feel a little different than it has in the past when they've talked about all this stuff and we just keep waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. But it does feel like we've been climbing this roller coaster towards the peak, and now it's finally about to start the ride.
Yeah, and I think that if there wasn't this, because if you remember back to when they first started to move a ton of team members over to Squadron 42, there was this sense of like, oh, everything's about to really slow down for Star Citizen. And it felt like it did for a long time. But now we know teams are moving back around to Star Citizen. If that wasn't the case, and if the same amount of people were going to just continue to work on Squadron 42 this year, as has been the case for the previous couple of years, then I wouldn't be walking away from this letter from the chairman with so much optimism. But just knowing that there's this huge change in resource allocation happening, and also considering the gravity of the features hitting 323, I really do. I think it's different this time.
Yeah,
and I think the meme of 2 more years until Star Citizen 1.0, I think it might actually be real in 2024.
I agree.
It's exciting. I'm hyped, but I think the difference between being super hyped this time around versus being hyped in the past is still just we carry with us this time a recognition of shit happens, things get delayed. We might still be talking about Star Citizen 1.0 coming in another 5 years. But the likelihood of that being the case seems less this time around. And it does feel like 1.0 really might be twinkling on the horizon. We might really actually be able to see it right now.
One of my big concerns was always what's going to happen once they finish Squadron 42. Are they going to start all those people? Are they going to move over to Squadron 42 Chapter 2 and start working on it immediately? And, kind of the PU is just always on the back burner until they get all 3 chapters of Squadron out that they want to do or whatever. But yeah, I'm glad to see that these teams are moving back over to the persistent universe because for myself, that's what I backed the game for, was the persistent universe. Squadron 42 was just kind of like a bonus. And I think a lot of people are in that same boat. So seeing more love put on the persistent universe and this push to 1.0, it's really exciting. And it is kind of made me a little less worried about, the development just staggering and being slow like it has in the past. And it really seems like it's ramping up, and they're pushing for this 1.0, however long it might be, 1 year, 2 years, hopefully not 3 years, but somewhere on the horizon is that commercial release.
We didn't see it in our 20s, but I think we'll see it in our 30s.
Yeah, hopefully. we still got a few years of the 30s left, so
yeah,
we'll remain hopeful. Chris, don't let us down. We don't want to be over the hill when 1.0 comes out.
We're both banking on Star Citizen to help get us through our upcoming midlife crises. So help us out, Chris. Help us out.
We need something. I can't afford a motorcycle or a fancy car, so I gotta stick with Star Citizen.
Yep. We need our spaceships. Absolutely. Oh man, anything else to say about this letter?
I don't think so. It was kind of out of left field, and didn't expect to be talking about it this week, honestly.
Yeah, no, there was a tease on this week in Star Citizen, and it seemed like that was more likely for the Overdrive event, and it seems like that was the case. But they were teasing some sort of mystery. Most people were like, okay, upcoming event, whatever, blah blah blah. But yeah, this wasn't on this week in Star Citizen at all. This letter from the chairman, they just kind of hot dropped it.
Yeah,
it was a nice surprise.
Yep, little unicorn coming out of his cave.
Exactly. All right, I think that's going to do it for this week's episode of the CommLink Podcast. Thanks everybody for joining us. We always have a great time making this show. Hopefully you're enjoying it as well. Don't forget that the CommLink Podcast releases a new episode weekly on both YouTube and Spotify. So if you're listening on YouTube, go ahead, hit us with that like and subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify, hook some brothers up with a 5-star rating. That would be awesome. In addition to the podcast, be sure to also check out our Star Citizen and Squadron 42 reaction videos up on our YouTube channel. Here the past couple of weeks, we've basically been doing every ISC and SCL for the most part.
Speaking of,
we're also,
make sure to check out our one from yesterday. The Q&A on FPS. We're both big FPS players. We have a lot of feelings about FPS updates in 3.23, more specifically the glint on the sniper scopes.
Fuck it.
Yeah, it's in our opinion, it is not a good game design. So if you have an opinion on it, let us know in the comments down below, or on the reaction video where we talked about it for a good 10-15 minutes on that video. So it's not game breaking. It's not the end of the world, but it is something that I personally feel kind of strong about, and I think Stubb does too. Yeah, that's what he said. So yeah, check out our react videos, especially on that one, and let us know what you think, because I would love to continue the discussion on that a little more with some other opinions.
Yeah.
And we got to let Zach know how we feel about it, because how do we feel about it, Stubb?
Fuck it.
That's right. But
I don't know what else to say about it. It's such a bad design choice. It just is. I think, as I said on that React video too, I'm pretty confident this is one that they're gonna do a 180 on. This is gonna get reversed. I think it's just a matter of time. There's so much uproar against it, and I think justified uproar, that, you know, once they do get the sniper glint changes in game and we've all got our hands on it, you know, there's already so much bad publicity on it from the community now. And I think once we're stuck with it for a while, I think even more people are going to start to be like, yeah, this doesn't feel good. This doesn't feel like what Star Citizen was sold as. This is, you know, for a dev team that says they don't want to make everything super arcadey. This was a real arcadey choice to make.
yeah, sorry to interrupt your outro there, but I just wanted to. I didn't want to get on another tangent about scope glint, but I just thought I would throw it out there for anybody who hasn't watched our React yet. For
sure. We're also on Twitter and Instagram. At CommLink Pod is the account name on both of those platforms. At CommLink Pod. We're currently running a giveaway for a Cutter Rambler with LTI over on the Twitter page. Details are pinned at the top. And if you enjoyed today's podcast, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more. We've got a lot happening in the world of Star Citizen in 2024. We're going to be staying on top of all of it as much as we possibly can, and we would love for you to stay on this journey with us and let us know your thoughts and opinions as more news comes out. Let us know. Let's talk. So anyway, until next time, thanks everybody for tuning in. Be safe, be well. Thanks, Brian, or Silvius. Second video I've done that in a row. Thanks, Silvius. This was fun as always.
Oh yeah, always good discussion. Thanks everybody for being here and continue to watch us and hang out. And let's go check out some Overdrive event.
2 more years. 2 more years.
Just two more.
See you, everybody.
Bye.